Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. It feels a bit weird because today I'm by myself. Ashley and the baby are behind the camera. But yeah, it feels weird sitting by myself. Anyway, I wanted to record a video on baby essentials. Our baby's just turned 3 months yesterday on the 10th of April. And there's a number of things that we have been using that have been essential for us. So we thought that we would just share this video on the things that we have been using on a daily basis with our baby. I'm hoping it will be useful for new mums out there, or if you're already a mum, maybe there's 1 or 2 things that you could pick up from this video, certain things that you might find useful. So what I've done is I've made a list and I've put things into categories just to make it easier for me to talk about certain things in kind of in order. The first part is to do with sleeping. Our baby basically has a next to me cot, so it sits right next to our bed. With the next to me cot, she uses it at night only at the moment. We're hoping to start using it for afternoon naps as well, to kind of get her used to using it a bit more, because eventually we want her to move out of our bedroom into her own room. We're not there yet. All that will come when the time is right. So at the moment we only use the next to me cot in the evenings. So in the afternoons we use this Sleepyhead. It might be dirty, don't judge me, but she tends to sleep in this when she's having her afternoon nap in the living room, and we'll just put her next to one of us so that we can watch her while she's sleeping in it. It's hit and miss with this thing. Sometimes she likes it, sometimes she doesn't. So there's other times when she'll only sleep while being held, and other times she's happy enough sleeping in the Sleepyhead. So we found this quite useful though. Even when traveling, we tend to take this with us sometimes. It's just useful during nap times in the afternoon. Sometimes in order to get her to sleep, she can be a bit fussy. We tend to put her in her swing. She's got like a swing. She tends to fall asleep in it sometimes. When she's being fussy, we put her in the chair and it rocks her to sleep. Or when my husband is not home and I'm cooking or doing things around the house, I can put her in the swing. I can keep an eye on her while she's swinging, but most of the time it tends to rock her to sleep. So that's really useful because she can sleep in there safely. I can watch her and I can also get on with other things around the house. Another thing that we have found useful, this one is not so much about sleep, but she tends to just generally just chill in it, is her baby, I think it's called a BABYBJÖRN bouncer. We usually use it when we're just chilling, watching TV, or again, if I'm doing stuff in the kitchen or around the house. What I really like about the bouncer is the fact that I can carry it around the house. Whether I'm in the kitchen, whether I'm in the bedroom, whether I'm having a shower, I can literally put her in it and carry it to whatever room I'm in. So I find it very useful. It's something that I use on a daily basis, to the point where now whenever we travel, before the whole virus quarantining thing, we would travel with it. We would take the bouncer with us. So it is really, really useful. It's a little bit pricey. I'm sure you can get something on the cheaper side that does the same thing. But I think just the idea of having a chair that you can put the baby in, fasten them in safely and carry around the house is something that's really useful. So yeah, I think that's about it in terms of sleeping. The next category is feeding. So that will include things like bottles. I'll go through the list of the essentials that we have under feeding. So our baby is breastfed, but we bottle feed as well. We chose to do bottle from day one. I've heard different opinions on bottle feeding. Some people say you should wait a little bit longer so that the baby doesn't get nipple confusion. But to be honest, that was never the case with us. She took to the bottle straight away and she was still breastfeeding, still is breastfeeding. There was never an issue there. And I found bottle feeding has actually been really essential because I can get help with the baby. On days that I'm exhausted, I'm tired, my husband can do night feeds, my mom or anyone who's with the baby at the time can feed the baby. I can pump and put the milk in the bottle and she can be bottle fed. So I found bottle feeding an essential. We use Tommee Tippee bottles, but you can use whatever bottle you prefer or whatever bottle your baby prefers. Because I've also heard that some babies prefer certain bottles to others. We used Tommee Tippee. She just took to it straight away. So we also used Avent, but Tommee Tippee is the main one that she uses. So another essential regarding feeding and bottles is a sterilizer. When you're using baby bottles, you need to sterilize just to make sure that they're clean and everything is sanitary so that your baby doesn't get sick. The Tommee Tippee sterilizer comes as a set. It comes with the sterilizer, it comes with 6 or 8 bottles, and it also comes with a bottle warmer. Oh, by the way, with all the stuff that we're mentioning, we'll be sure to add links down below. Most of these things can be sourced on Amazon, so will share links down below. So with the sterilizer, it's pretty simple. It's got trays inside where you put your bottles and all the other stuff that you need to sterilize. It's got markers on how much water you need to put in. You put water in the bottom, you switch it on, and it sterilizes your bottles. Sometimes it will switch off on its own, and sometimes you'll need to turn it off if you feel like, you know, they've been sterilizing for long enough. You can also get sterilizing tablets that you can add to the water to help sterilize your baby's stuff. The sterilizer also came with, I've already mentioned the bottles. It also came with a bottle warmer. So this thing tends to sit at my bedside and it helps me basically avoid leaving my bed in the middle of the night. It warms up your bottle, basically. You put in about half a cup of water. The bottle warmer has 2 heat levels and we tend to go for the maximum. So there's level 2 and level 3. We tend to put it on 3. So it boils like a kettle, basically. It works like a kettle. So we tend to let it run twice, and that usually gets it to the temperature that is right for our baby. Each cycle is about a minute. So it runs for a minute and then it switches off for about maybe 2 minutes, and then it goes again for another minute, switches off. So basically if you don't switch it off, it will keep running throughout the night. So it's something that you have to make sure you switch off, otherwise the milk will overheat. This is an essential for me, especially because it saves me from leaving my bed at 2 a.m. in the morning when I'm doing night feeds. This for me is a must, and I think it would be worth purchasing. This is one of the bottles that came with the set. This is the smaller half and it is 150 mils. It also comes with bigger bottles, which are 260 mils. So depending on how much your baby drinks, you can use either the little ones or the bigger ones. At 3 months, our baby is now drinking between 120 and 150 is usually what she takes. So we tend to use the smaller ones more. I will use the bigger ones to store breast milk in the fridge. So yeah, that's it in terms of this set. This is another huge essential, my breast pump. I think this is important whether you are bottle feeding or not. This is something that you definitely need if you're having a baby, because once you have your baby, your boobs start producing milk, and there's times when you've got so much milk that it causes pain. I think it's called engorgement. I think that's the right word. And it can be quite painful when they're that full. So I find the breast pump helps to relieve that pressure. And also, like I said, I bottle feed as well as breastfeed, so I tend to pump the milk and then put it in a bottle for the baby. This is the pump that I have. There's 1,000,001 types out there. To be honest with you, I didn't really do too much research. Medela is the one that I kept seeing. It's the one that kept popping up on Google every time I would Google breast pumps. So I literally just closed my eyes and chose one. It's been really good, actually. I've got the swing. I know they've got different types. Essentially, this is what you get, and a plug. You can plug it into the wall, or you can put batteries in the back and use it wirelessly if you're in the car, or if you're away from home and there's no plugs. If you're in a cafe or whatever, you can use batteries with it as well. I think it's brilliant. It does the job. It's not heavy. It's easy to use. The only downside to this one, I don't know if all the Medela ones are the same, but with this one, it is quite loud. It makes a really annoying noise. Let me see if you can hear it. I don't know if you can hear that. So imagine listening to that at 2 in the morning. It's not great. My husband hates it, but I have no choice. It does what it needs to do. So besides the annoying noise that it makes, I think it's really great. While we're still on the subject of breastfeeding, one of the biggest challenges was I was not producing enough milk for my baby. So they tell you that the baby's stomach is like this big when they come out, and a drop is enough for them, but it wasn't enough for my baby, and I really struggled to kind of make enough for her. So a friend of mine recommended getting fenugreek tablets. Here in the UK, you get them from Holland & Barrett. I think you can get them on Amazon as well, for anyone that's outside of the UK. I buy mine from Holland & Barrett. With the fenugreek tablets, you take 2 of them 3 times a day, and it basically increases your milk supply. Now, before you take these, just like with anything else, I'm just giving you my opinion and the things that I have done. But I'm not a midwife, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a medical professional, so I would advise you speak to your midwife and ask for their opinion before you try any of these things. So for me, it worked really well. My milk supply doubled. I didn't have any more issues in regards to producing enough milk after I started taking these, so they worked really well. Also on breastfeeding, these are 2 things that I found really helpful. There is the nursing pads, because you don't want to be leaking and everyone sees that you're breastfeeding, and it's not nice. It doesn't smell good. So these are helpful. This particular brand I found to be the best. I tried other brands from Superdrug and like other different types, and they didn't hold as long and they would leak and it was just a mess. But I haven't had any of those issues with these ones. So this is Lansinoh. So the pads are from Lansinoh, and also a nipple balm. When you start breastfeeding, especially in the beginning, the first few weeks, it can be quite painful and leave you quite sore. And that was me, especially in the first week of having the baby. It made breastfeeding really difficult. And I really feel like if I didn't have this balm, I may have given up. That's how bad it was. So this basically saved my life, and it helped me to continue with breastfeeding. It basically just soothes and kind of helps with the process. So again, it's from Lansinoh. I recommend these definitely. And then lastly, another essential that I found helpful was this. I think it's called a breastfeeding cover. I'm sure there's a proper name for it, but I just call it a breastfeeding cover. So this was really helpful when I was breastfeeding in public. I'm not really at the point where I'm confident enough to just whip out my boob and feed my baby in front of people yet. So I tend to just cover myself with this. So you basically put it over your head and it clips on the side. You've got your baby underneath, so you can breastfeed your baby, you can see your baby. There's plenty of room for your head for you to be looking up and down at your baby. There's plenty of room for your baby inside. It's quite comfortable, like the material is quite nice as well. So I have found this quite useful, especially when breastfeeding in public or at home when you've got visitors and you don't want to keep leaving the room. You can just put this over you and feed your baby. It is quite thick but airy at the same time, so your baby won't get hot and stuffy under there. I found this really useful. If we were out for dinner or something, you can just feed your baby while you're at the table. So I found this one really useful as well. Another essential is a feeding pillow. So this is something that I actually had as part of my hospital preparation before I had the baby. And this is something that I did take with me to the hospital. Basically, I used it and still use it when breastfeeding, especially now because she's getting heavier. I tend to put this, you put it around your waist and then you place your baby on top. So basically it holds the weight for you, because after a while of holding a baby with one arm, it does go dead. So this kind of holds the weight and it makes it a lot easier to breastfeed for longer. We also use it for tummy time, or now she's trying to kind of sit up a bit more, so we can put her in this just to support her back. So this is definitely an essential. It will save your back. It will save your arms. It will save your back. This is definitely an essential, having a feeding pillow. One thing that was difficult for us regarding feeding, not really feeding, but babies get what is called colic. So basically how it was explained to us is the baby's digestive system is still developing when they're born. So their bodies are still finding it difficult to digest milk. So sometimes that can cause some stomach issues. It can be very uncomfortable for them. It can be painful for them. And we went through that in the first, I would say, maybe 4 to 6 weeks of Melissa being born. It was terrible. It was really hard to see them kind of cringe and curl every time that she was having stomach problems. So we were recommended anti-colic bottles. You can get those anywhere. Again, we use Tommee Tippee ones. And also my cousin recommended these drops. So basically they are called COLIEF, and you put 4 drops in each bottle that you feed the baby. They really helped to relieve the pain, but they didn't fix the issue. So basically colic is something that a baby grows out of. It's not something that you can actually fix with these things, but it did help. It made it better. It definitely made it better. You could see that she wasn't suffering as much as she was before we started using them. So we ended up using them with every single feed. And in hindsight, I think it was overboard because it got to the point where they weren't really working as well anymore. So I would say maybe every other feed, every other bottle. You can't use these if you are exclusively breastfeeding because they're not drops that you can drop on your boob and then breastfeed. It has to be in a bottle. I don't know why, but that's just what the instructions say. So you put in 4 drops into each bottle and then you feed your baby as normal. We found these really, really helpful. Again, as this is something that you're giving to your baby, seek medical advice before using it. Speak to your midwife, speak to your GP, and gain their permission before using any of these things. We're not medical professionals. I'm literally just sharing things that we found helpful. So you don't have to, it's not a must. It might or might not work for your baby. For example, we used Infocol in the beginning. That's what was recommended. These things didn't work as well as these drops. So it's trial and error, but we're not doctors. So please make sure you seek medical advice before you use any of these things. So these drops can be found over the counter. You can also find them on Amazon, but we bought ours from Boots. So it can be bought over the counter, just in case other mums also have babies that are having stomach issues, especially after they eat. What we found is, initially we were mixing powder formula and breast milk. And someone recommended that we try liquid formula instead and see if that would kind of ease the pressure with the whole stomach and constipation issue. And we found that that also made a difference. So we basically switched from powder formula to liquid ready-made formula. So for us, we use HIPP Organic. Apparently all these things are the same, like it's just brand difference, and you can just pick and choose whichever one you want to use. So we chose HIPP Organic and it worked well for her. She didn't have any kind of allergic reactions or any of that, so we just continued with HIPP Organic. This is ready-made. You basically just put it in a bottle, however much the baby takes. This is 200 mils per bottle. Just put it in the bottle, warm it up and feed them. So another good thing about ready-made is we can just throw it in her bag. You can give her a bottle anywhere, even if you're in the car and she needs milk, you can just pour it in the bottle and go. So yeah, we found liquid versus powder has been helpful for us. Again, preference. You pick and choose what you want to do with your baby. You can trial and error and see what works for you. But we definitely saw a difference when we switched from powder formula to liquid ready-made. I think it was just easier for her to digest. The constipation pretty much stopped, and the colic, she grew out of it. So by about maybe 4 to 6 weeks, it basically stopped. The cringing and the pain and the crying just kind of stopped. So it is something that they will grow out of. So the next category is bath time and lotions. The reason why I put this as a category is because it was trial and error for us. I didn't realize how complicated a baby's skin can be. I had bought all these lovely kind of scented lotions, and because I wanted her to smell like flowers and all that fun stuff. Basically, I didn't end up using any of it when I realized how delicate her skin was. Essentially, we started to use Vaseline. Head to toe, it was Vaseline. Bath time, we had bath foam. So the brands like Johnson's & Johnson's have got baby baths and all that other stuff that you can use for your baby. And that's what we would use. We would use the Johnson & Johnson baby wash, and then we would use Vaseline, just normal Vaseline to moisturize her with. So she went through the phase where her skin was peeling. That was cool. That was to be expected, fine. And then she kind of broke out into this horrible rash. It was horrible. It looked sore, it was red, it was bumpy. It was really scary because I thought, I've never seen this before. I thought, okay, the peeling I've seen, but this is something new. So we took her to the GP and they basically said, it's baby acne, it's normal, you know, it will pass. Basically just moisturize her skin, make sure you clean it properly and she'll be fine. So at that point we stopped using the baby wash. Basically we were given a cream, like an aqueous type of cream to wash and moisturize her with, and so that's what we did. We used this cream to wash her, we used the cream to moisturize her, but the rash didn't go away. Like, it actually started to spread. So it started off on her ears, then it went to her cheeks, then it went to her neck, then it went to her chest. Like, it was spreading. So once again, I went back to the GP and said, listen, the cream is not working. It's actually spreading. The rash is spreading. And it looks even more sore than it did before. And I was just panicking because I didn't know what it was. I started to think maybe she was reacting to the formula. I just had no idea what was going on. So someone, a friend of mine, then recommended coconut oil. And I thought, it's something that I never really thought about. Again, we'll add a link. It's coconut oil that we bought on Amazon. I swear, within about 4 days, the rash was gone. Like, completely gone. Completely clear, it was gone. So yeah, that's what we used. So that's what I would recommend as essentials for skincare. Again, make sure you seek medical advice before trying any of these things. These are things that I tried for my baby and it worked for me. The aqueous cream was on prescription. It's not something that you can get over the counter, so you'd need to go to your GP. This one's called Epimax. The coconut oil you can get anywhere. Holland & Barrett's. We bought ours from Amazon, so we'll leave a link of this exact one. But again, seek advice before you try any of these things. And it may not work for your baby. Again, like I said, it's trial and error when it comes to baby skin, but these are the things that worked really well for us. So till this day, this is the combination that we use. I tend to wash her with plain water now, just water with nothing in it. Then I moisturize her with the coconut oil, then put the aqueous cream over the top. And that seems to be the best combination for us, and it's worked really well. The rash has not come back. She has dry patches sometimes, but nothing that the cream cannot fix. Another bath time essential is having a dish. So obviously your baby is way too tiny to be washing them in the bathtub. So you need a dish. You definitely need a dish. There's different types of dishes out there. We have the SHNUGGLE. Again, I just went on the Mother Care website and just picked one. The SHNUGGLE works really well. It's got this rubber kind of base thing at the back. It helps from the baby slipping down. It also has like a ridge on the inside that stops your baby from slipping down. Obviously you need to support the baby in order for them not to fall into the water, but it's got like things placed in it that help with that as well. So yeah, in terms of bath time, this is the dish that we use to give her baths. Another essential is having a changing mat. Any changing mat will do, the choice is yours. Again, it's one of those things where there is millions of them out there from different shops. We got ours from Mother Care. It was one of our baby shower gifts. So just a simple, you know, plastic mat. We place this onto her changing unit. We put the mat on top of the unit, and that's where we change her. With the unit, we bought ours in IKEA, and what we really liked about this one is that it was convertible. I don't know if that's the right word, but basically it folds out. You put the mat to change the baby, but the changing bit that you pull out can be folded back in. I don't know if I'm describing it very well, but basically it's an item that can be used even after she's grown up. So it's not just a changing unit, it's more of like a cupboard, you know, kind of chest of drawers that you can use even when she's older. So that's what we really liked about it, because it's not just about her being a baby, it's convertible. You can kind of retract the changing part and turn it into a chest of drawers. So that's what we really liked about this particular one. Again, it's from IKEA. We'll get a link and put that down below. But on the topic of changing your baby, we have, I think it's called a CADDY, a nappy CADDY. I bought this particular one on Amazon. Again, we'll leave a link down below just in case you want one for yourselves. I find this thing really useful. We keep it in the living room. So it's got nappies, it's got wipes, it's got her toys, it's got a changing mat, it's got, you know, her combs and brushes. It's just really useful to keep in the living room. So if you don't want to get up and go to her room to change her, we can just do it in the living room. There's a mat, there's nappies, there's wipes, everything that you need. Also, if you're traveling, so if we're going to my parents' house or my mother-in-law's house, we can literally just pick up this thing and put it in the car so that we have extra nappies, extra wipes, and it's just really easy to kind of pack the essentials that you need when changing your baby. So yeah, this is something that I really love and I think is an essential just to make life easy and a nice way of kind of organizing your baby's nappy and wipes. So yeah, this is something that I find really helpful. So the next few things that I'm going to mention in the video are not really essentials, but I just think they're things that are nice to have for your baby. So the first thing is milestone cards. We got these as gifts from friends, and I got these from people at work. So they're two different types. But essentially they're cards that have milestones on them and weeks within each week. So for example, today I'm 1 week old and it's got space for a date. So you put the date in whenever your baby turns 1 week old, and they're just like nice cards to keep as like keepsakes. You can always give them to the baby when they're older, or just little reminders of certain dates when they did certain things. So there's some cards that say, you know, I smiled for the first time today, or today I said my first word. So you can write the date of when that happened. It's just a nice way of remembering all of your baby's milestones. We tend to make her hold one of these. You know, I'm 4 months old, I'm 5 months old. Make her hold one and we take a picture just for us to keep and remember those special little moments. I also think these would be really nice gifts to give to people. Until I received them, I didn't even know they existed. So it was actually really lovely gift, and it's something that you could give to someone who's having a baby. Another essential, non-essential, is a night light. Basically this stays on throughout the night, but it's really dim. So, but it's bright enough for you to see what you're doing in the middle of the night. Whether I'm preparing a bottle or changing the baby, it's bright enough for me to see what I'm doing, but it's not too bright to the point where you can't go back to sleep, or too bright to the point where your baby can't sleep. So we have found this to be an essential, definitely, just helping you function a little easier in the middle of the night without disturbing other people, without disturbing the baby. It's not too bright, so that's really good. We've got side lamps. But we found that they were actually too bright. So we started using this instead. You can adjust it so you can make it brighter, you can dim it a bit more, so it's really flexible and useful in the middle of the night. So another bonus, extra, essential, non-essential is the bin. Now I say essential, non-essential because really you could just put your baby's nappies in a scented nappy bag and throw them outside. But we found this one really useful. First of all, it saves you from going to throw nappies outside all the time. Every time that you change your baby, you can just throw them in this bin. The poopy diapers will stink up your house. This bin is amazing for things like that. It basically locks in all the smells. Every single smell, it will lock it in. So it's been really helpful for us. The biggest thing is just the fact that I don't have to keep going outside to throw out the nappy every time that I change her. We have one of these and we used to keep it in her changing room, but now we keep it in the corridor. That was just the best place for us. The bin is another kind of extra but essential that you will need for your baby. And then another, I guess my last essential, non-essential is a satin pillowcase. So basically our baby went bald. The back of her head is empty. There's no hair. It crept up on us, basically. We didn't see it happening. Literally, I just looked at the back of her head one day and thought, there's no hair. What happened here? So we ended up getting her satin pillowcases. So she's got a satin pillowcase in her cot and we've got a satin pillowcase in our bed for the nights when she sleeps with us in our bed. Basically, it helps with the shedding of the hair. She show the people. Trying to show the people your bald spot. I don't know if you can see it, but basically, yeah, there's no hair in the back. So the satin pillowcase has helped stop the shedding. I've noticed the hair has started growing back slowly. We do oil it, so I put coconut oil on her hair and castor oil as well. We're trying to grow back the patch, basically. But yeah, the satin pillowcases have definitely helped to fix the issue. So that's another essential, non-essential. If you do not want your baby to lose hair or go bald in certain places, a satin pillowcase is something that you should get. Again, we got ours from Amazon. We buy a lot of stuff from Amazon. We'll put a link down below of the specific pillowcases that I bought. You can buy any, but I'll just share a link of the ones that I have. Yeah, so that's all our essentials. Just our opinion and the things that we have been using and the things that we have found useful. So just thought we would share that with you guys. So yeah, that's it. That's my essentials and non-essentials, but nice to have lists. But if you have any questions, maybe there's certain things that I didn't mention in the video, or if you have any questions about baby stuff, please feel free to just write it in the comments below or DM us. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Say bye. Up there. Say bye-bye.